This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
This guy is sick. There's something wrong with this guy.
Well, let's get back to it.
Texts and tweets and such from last night. Lucy in Balham says, I see Trump has been advised not to visit the red states due to the increased risk of catching tuberculosis, measles and COVID. It's a good thing that the woke mind virus is less of a concern. Sam says, Nick, do you think there will ever be any good news again, or is that a thing of the past? Sam, when has there ever been good news? Good news is no news. And David in Poole says, as stock markets around the world collapse, losing trillions of dollars, the lunatic responsible retires to his golf course in Florida. The world desperately needs a Bing Crosby ending. You'll have to look that one up if you're not familiar with the ending of Bing Crosby. And Simon in Red Hill says, why is it that nobody mentions that Trump's tariffs are based on the big lie that nasty foreign countries, so nasty and mean, nasty foreign countries stole the jobs of USA workers by manufacturing products for the American consumer? No, it was the likes of Nike and Apple who happily stopped production in the US and moved manufacturing to China, to reduce costs and thus make more profits. If Trump truly cared about the US workers, he would heavily tax the profits of the US companies that manufacture outside the US until they move production back home. By the way, I'm not wearing I'm not wearing a toupee, he says. Well, I know somebody else who's not wearing a toupee.
I don't wear a toupee.
He doesn't wear a toupee. Bad news about the dog, though.
My dog's been taken.
Very, very sad news. Yeah, if they bring manufacturing back to America, nobody will be able to afford those products anymore. That's why they're so relatively cheap. That's why you can get a pair of trainers for only £150.
What?
It's because they're made in Vietnam, where people earn threepence halfpenny a month. Move it back to America, and trainers will be costing £300, whatever. I mean, the whole idea of it is absolutely stupid. It's as though a ghost, an idiot ghost, told him to do it, which, by coincidence, is true. One moment, please. I have detailed files. Get this. The whole basis of Donald Trump's tariffs thing is in much the same way as the basis of our Brexit was based on the opinion of one person, an economist, and I waggle my fingers in the air to denote inverted commas around the word economist. So Trump's tariffs thing is based on an expert called Ron Vara, V-A-R-A. Thing about Ron Vara is he doesn't exist. Donald Trump's trade advisor is a bloke called Peter Navarro. He joined the MAGA team during his first presidential run. Can you believe that the Americans voted for this guy twice?
No.
If at first you don't succeed, keep doing the same thing over and over. That'll work. This guy, Peter Navarro, joined the MAGA team during Donald Trump's first presidential run and brought a source with him, an economic expert with him to Washington, D.C. Trump tasked his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, to find him an economic advisor. And so Jared Kushner went on Amazon and looked up some books on the economy and came up with this bloke called Peter Navarro. And Peter Navarro is joined at the hip by an expert called Ron Vara. In all of his books about economics, Peter Navarro cited an economics expert to justify his views, and part of his views are that tariffs are huge and tremendous and great. It's probably where Donald Trump got the idea. In all of his books, Peter Navarro cited an economics expert to justify his views, and the economics expert he cites is Ron Vara. The thing is, Ron Vara doesn't exist. The economic expert that Peter Navarro is cited to explain why he's so full-on about tariffs, this person, this economic expert, Ron Vara, is a person that he made up. He made up a person so that he could quote him to back up his economic theories. That's why we're here. a bloke who doesn't exist. That's the intellectual basis on which Donald Trump wiped $6 trillion from everywhere. Where it went, nobody knows. Messages from last night. Griffin Eltham says, please let history repeat itself. The trust budget, 19 days onwards, Kwarteng was gone. A month later, she was. So we're looking at May the 3rd being World Liberation Day. Ain't that right, Liz?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Still not missing you, by the way. Nice hat, though. You don't look stupid in that at all. This text says, Nick, did you see the Republican representative for Texas quote Goebbels in the House? Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, there's a guy called Keith Self, and he's got history on this. A Texas congressman, Keith Self, quoted Joseph Goebbels. He said, a direct quote from Joseph Goebbels, it's the absolute right of the state to supervise the formation of public opinion. And I think that's what we might be discussing here, he said. Yeah, absolutely, except not in the way that he meant it. That's precisely what seems to be going on in America right now. The absolute right of the state to supervise the formation of public opinion by smashing up universities and schools and law firms and corporations. I mean, it's, you can predict the next move just by looking at the History Channel. And Keith Self, the second time he's quoted Goebbels, to my knowledge, he said earlier on, if you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but not the way he meant it. But yeah, I couldn't agree more. James says this week, shall I start that again? James says this week, like other Runcorn residents, I got a personal letter from Mr. Farage telling me how I should vote reform on May the 1st. I'd run out of a certain type of paper, so I found this very useful.
Disgusting.
Oh. 0345 6060 973. I want to talk about what kids predicted that the world would be like now in 1966, because that's very interesting. They were pretty much right all the time. And a person who is a danger to cutlery has foreseen the end of civilization as we know it. He just wanted to pass that message on, and I'll pass it on to you. First, though, here is an important call in Hull from Charles. Charles.
Hello, Nick.
Yes, Charles.
I do apologise for not being in touch early, but I've got a weird phone that will stop me getting through, and I'm working on 3 projects. Blah blah blah.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but go ahead.
I know. But it's Trump madness, of course. Have you seen Mary Trump's? Because she knows the inside track of how the Trump mind works.
Why are you speaking like that?
Because I'm scared, that's why.
You're scared. Right. Okay, well, go pull the duvet over your head and maybe it'll go away. I don't know. Maybe you will. It'll be a twofer. But I wish you all the best, Charles, with, whatever is ailing you. Clive in Sydney says, Nick, the clocks have gone back, so now are you starting at 7? Now, Clive in Sydney says, Nick, the clocks here have gone back, so now you are starting at 7 a.m. local time as opposed to an early brunch. I feel I need a cow to milk, says Clive in Sydney. Is that 7 a.m. in the morning? That's way too early for this show. This text says, "Hi, Nick. There's been protests across America today. Apparently Trump said that if anybody mentions his wig again, then they'll be held to pay." A listener with material.
Oh, no.
So early. And this says, "I wonder how loud the dinglings will whoop and cheer when they hear that they have to pay an extra 34% for their China-made MAGA hat. Or MAGA tat he's got. Thanks, Donny, you're the best." Well, the whole world's gone crazy. I want to talk about the person who has foreseen the end of the world as we know it. The man who is a danger to cutlery. You know the bloke I'm talking about? I'll come to that in a minute. Messages from last night. Stan says, "Hasn't anybody considered that the reason that the UK got 10% in US tariffs is because Skier has done some sort of deal with the Orange Ninny for contracts into the NHS? Something to consider, Nick." No, I don't believe that that's true. I mean, of course, he wants the NHS to call his own because that's where the money is. A lot of money, honey, in the NHS. All of that unrealised potential. But I don't think that Skier has come to some sort of deal. Not yet. It's just that 10% is the lowest amount that Donald Trump and his coterie of loons has decided to impose on every country in the world that they've heard of. I mean, there were some countries that were left off the list, and some countries that aren't countries, they're just islands that were included on the list. So maybe, I don't know, if there are any schools open in America still, then perhaps a geography lesson or two. Just a suggestion. And Pete in Kilcullen says, "Isn't the Trump thing just all about him enriching himself? He said as much the other day when he blurted out that it was a great time to get rich. The markets crash, stocks get cheaper, he buys them up, reverses the tariffs. Easy money." Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons that people have put forward as to why he's doing this seemingly insane thing. And Americans are already very upset. Even Republicans are upset with him. And there were protests today. I didn't hear that Donald Trump ordered the army to shoot into crowds. So that's not happening today, perhaps. But it'll happen soon. I'm predicting by the end of the year. I have foreseen it. He's going to be talking about, oh, God, what's the word? The Germans on the History Channel, very, very upset about degenerate. That's it, degenerate. He'll be talking about degenerate art before you know it. I mean, he's just going through the playbook. I'm surprised he hasn't fashioned himself a nice moustache.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Oh, hello there. Very nice to meet you.
Speaking of which, here is a call on that subject from a bloke in Alton called Neil. Neil.
Hey, Nick.
Good. Good.
After I told you about the beavers of Staffordshire last night...
I just blurted out the word good for no apparent reason.
The beavers of Staffordshire, remember that conversation last night?
No.
Oh, anyway. So, shortly after that...
Yeah, I don't listen to this show. Go ahead.
Oh, right, okay. John from Bath phoned up and he shamed the good people of Staffordshire for voting in Gavin Williamson.
Oh,
and he's
right.
Absolutely right. We did. Well, I didn't.
Gavin Williamson. Yes. And how's that going?
Well, I had a Gavin Williamson encounter. Yeah, much to my kind of dubious pleasure.
Yeah.
So I was walking my dog down by the river about a week after the election, and this gentleman was standing there with another guy, and he kind of started to compliment my Dalmatian dog and make a fuss of it.
Yeah.
And he looked vaguely familiar. And before I knew it, I was into a conversation with him. And then it dawned on me who he was.
Gavin Williamson.
Yeah. Yeah, and he didn't tell me to go away or anything, but my wife was suspiciously quiet throughout the whole encounter. Once we walked away, so, what are you talking to him for? Tell you who it is. And I didn't realise until I was into the conversation, it was too late to extricate himself from the conversation.
Right.
But I've got to say, he was quite charming, actually.
Well, he was just interacting with your dog. Of course he's charming.
Well, he was, yeah, and he was telling me about his dog, so there's nothing wrong with talking about dogs.
Well, I don't know. Because I think that is a bit of a problem, walking a dog, because other people will use that opportunity to insert themselves into your life.
Correct. Yeah, which is what he did. Yeah, and I'm still traumatised.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But there you go. So that was my Gavin Williamson encounter. Yeah, and he was wandering around because he is our local MP, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah, but nothing to do with me. So sorry, John, in Bath. Not my fault, mate. Sorry to your good wife as well, who was very upset with us.
Right. I don't know. I mean, I think that you protest too much, Neil. You actually voted for him, didn't you? It's your fault.
No, honestly.
Right.
It was all a bad dream.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. One day you'll wake up. One day. Did he tell you to shut up and go away? Oh, he's shut up and gone away. Richard in West Sussex says, have you heard that Spaghetti Hair is going into Big Brother? Surely we can find out if he's wearing a toupee. Is he? Because all the news has been about Mickey Rourke going into Big Brother. I'm unfamiliar with... I'm trying to bring the guy's name to mind. What's his name? The fellow with the spaghetti hair. Looks like a plate of plastic food that sits in the window of a cheap Italian restaurant. Plastic spaghetti hair. What's the name of that guy with the plastic spaghetti hair?
Michael Fabricant.
Michael Fabricant is the right answer. I didn't realise... I thought Michael Fabricant had been in that show already. Hasn't he been on that show? He's been on some stupid programme on TV, I'm sure of it. It might have been on the Parliament channel. But Mickey Rourke is going... Have you seen a picture of Mickey Rourke lately? Good grief. What is he? Which species has he morphed into? That is alarming. I don't know what he's done, but he should stop doing it straight away. See if he can get his money back. Blimey. Anyway, I'm definitely not going to be watching that programme. Not now, not ever, never. And this text says, "Hi Nick, I would love to buy an iPhone for €100 more if made in the EU, but paying a surplus of $300 for the thing being made in the US has burned a bridge too far for me." Yeah, they ain't going to make it in the US because it would double the price. This is absolute nonsense. Manufacturing is not going to go back to America. It just isn't. And in the seldom examples of a company bringing their manufacturing base, or some of it, building a factory in America, it's going to take years. I mean, do they think they're just going to pop up and the pain will be over by next weekend? Years is what it's going to take. So Donald Trump is either going to have to make his control over that country iron-fisted in order to stamp out any dissent, or he's going to have to change his mind really quickly. Maybe a week, he'll start to cave and claim that it's a great success, that all these countries came to him begging for a huge and tremendous deal, and he said, "Oh, okay then, I grant you this favour." And then he'll claim that, that this was his intention all along, and are you tired of winning yet? That kind of thing. 0345 6060 973. Let's have North Carolina. Graham.
Actually, I'm in North Carolina now, Nick.
I just said that.
No, you said no. I thought you said Atlanta.
No, I said North Carolina.
Okay. I live in both places. So after that very interesting drubbing that you gave America, I would hope that you and the callers who hate America won't participate in anything American ever. Don't come to New York. Don't come to San Francisco.
Yeah, I have no intention of doing any of those things. America is dead to me. I'm not going on holiday there. I wouldn't go on holiday if I won a holiday there. I would ask if there was a cash alternative.
Well, I would go to the Caribbean, but I get it. I understand that. But there are some really... You said yourself one time that you liked the Midwest, but that was in the 70s, so...
I loved
everything
America.
changes.
I spent about 8 months, 9 months, something like that, and I traveled from coast to coast and from the bottom to, as high as Wyoming,
Yeah, in
not
a
to the very
driveway,
top.
I remember, driveway car.
It was great. And I don't
wasn't it great?
hate America or Americans, just a particular type of them, and one person in particular, and one person especially.
I know. Well, I looked up all this debacle about a certain brand of fizzy drink, and that went to China in the 70s. And that was after the Cultural Revolution, and I think that's when all the debacle started. Well, it started before that, but the idea that it was better to go make something cheap than it was to make something at home.
Well, that's always been the case. Better to make something cheap than... that's why companies try to drive down wages, so that they can make something as cheap as possible, because consumers insist on things being cheap.
I mean, you used to make great motorcycles and great cars, and I drove helmets.
No. America never made great cars, ever. Name one.
No, I didn't say. I said you made good cars.
Oh, I'm not sure that's true. I don't think that's. I don't think that's true either. We never made great cars. Name one.
Well, I don't know. My dad drove an Austin, and he had a helmet. Husky.
An Austin is a great car. No.
Well, okay.
I mean, it's a great car compared to American cars, particularly from like the 2000s and back, like the 1970s and the 1980s. American cars were absolutely ludicrous. It was like trying to drive a cloud.
I know, but they were pink and sky blue.
Well, they did look great. Yes, I'll give you that.
They
looked great. They had big fins and they had lots of chrome and rocket lights on the back, and they looked tremendous.
Right.
But it was like trying to operate a cow. No, awful. I can remember sitting in it was Dodge Charger, which was a car that was so big the front bonnet was practically the size of a double bed. It was enormous. Only 2 doors, of course. And you could sit there and turn the steering wheel 360 degrees and you'd still be going straight ahead.
Was that your drive-away car?
No. It was a horrible little Italian thing with a broken roof and no air conditioning. Going through Texas in August with no air conditioning. Can you imagine?
I haven't checked it out, but I just hope my Twinings has not gone up in price.
That's the wokest thing I've ever heard anybody from North Carolina say. Your Twinings?
What? Twinings tea?
Yes. Drink...
In the morning at 4 o'clock, baby.
Drink coffee, Graham. American drinks.
And with a petty burr or a peach free.
Oh, now you've just gone too far. I think you need to leave the country before they send you to Venezuela. And I wish you all the best, Graham. Keep your head down, all right? Thanks a lot, mate. Ta-da. Messages from last night. Gabriel in Hackney says, "Good evening, Nick. I put my washing out in the garden to dry due to the great weather while I was away for the night in Manchester for a photography assignment. I got back this morning to find that several birds had relieved themselves all over my washing. I've taken abrasive action and removed the bird feeder in response." Yeah, that'll teach them. Also, we'll give them less ammunition. Richard in Farnham says, "Oh dear, please confirm if the UK meets net zero, we will all be safe. Or if all the world meets net zero, we will all be safe. Oh, you can't," says Richard in Farnham. This is in relation to me reporting that a board member of one of the world's biggest insurance companies is saying that if the climate change is not addressed, then capitalism is in danger of dying out because nobody will be able to get insurance anymore because insurance companies will cease to exist. And they will start to, bit by bit, refuse to insure houses or factories or areas or countries. And that's true. If you can't get insurance, you can't buy a house. If you can't get insurance, you can't build a factory. And so you might not believe in climate change, Richard in Farnham, but the insurance company does, and so it's going to affect you anyway. But talk about extreme. He says, "Oh dear, please confirm if the UK meets net zero, we will all be safe." Or if all the world meets net zero, we will all be safe. "Oh, you can't," says Richard, and drops the mic, as though that's a winning argument. "You're an idiot, Richard. I mean that in a helpful way." A couple more in that vein. This says, "Nick, you liberal dweebs are are finding out why, in answer to the question, why shouldn't I be able to understand stuff about what relatives of mine are like after tens of years? Well, it's obvious, doesn't cut it with me." Did that make sense?
No.
No. But good insult right at the beginning. Shall I read it again? Maybe it'll make sense the second time. "Nick, you liberal dweebs are finding out why, in answer to the question, why shouldn't I be able to understand stuff about what relatives of mine are like after tens of years? Well, it's obvious, doesn't cut it with me." I mean, it's like it's translated from the Russian. And this says, "I have known peers and relatives who have been really good at putting their faith in the wrong people, but none of them have gone on to study the liberal BS you have. It beggars belief how you have turned what it can be entirely possible for one person to understand about another on its head." Morons. We're surrounded by morons.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
You know, some whack job can say this stuff and get away with it?
Yesterday I was talking about, it can't be long before Donald Trump starts insisting that he writes our laws. And Fiona has texted the following, quite rightly, saying the US are already writing our laws, current protest laws that have led to Just Stop Oil supporters receiving long sentences were written by right-wing think tank Policy Exchange with funding from ExxonMobil. Rishi Sunak admitted it. Well, this Rishi Sunak, he made it his top priority.
It's the country's number one priority. It's my number one priority up and down the country, and that will be our focus.
He needs to grip it.
I'm gripping it.
He is actually gripping it right now. Yeah, that's true. That is actually true. The Just Stop Oil people are in jail because of Merca. This from CNN. From last September, as right-wing rioters attacked communities with racist violence across parts of the UK last month. This is, that would have been August last. 22-year-old climate activist Cressy Gethin sat in a prison cell. Her crime? Organising a disruptive protest against new government-granted licences to drill for oil, a planet-heating fossil fuel in the North Sea. In late July, a London court found that Gethin and 4 other members of Just Stop Oil, they were guilty of conspiring intentionally to cause a public nuisance after recruiting protesters to climb structures along the M25, bringing traffic to a standstill in November 2022. Now, Gethin and 3 others are serving 4-year jail terms, while Just Stop Oil co-founder Roger Hallam was given 5 years. Now, the sentences are believed to be the longest in UK's history for non-violent protests, were delivered under 2 controversial laws that supercharged policing powers to crack down on disruptive protests, even when they are peaceful. This is an American news outlet talking about us. They placed the act of planning a public nuisance event, which carries a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison, on a similar footing as violent crimes like robbery and rape. The judge in court referred to the activists as extremists. But activists like Gethin say the demonstrations are proportionate to the problem at hand. And, the huge insurance companies do not have woke liberal lefties on their boards. They have people who like money. And if people who like money are sounding the klaxon, warning, telling us that climate change is going to upend everything that we rely on, well, maybe we should listen to them. It's not just hippies who are saying this stuff, And to the point, though, that big oil has poured money into think tanks and charities that have had an influence on climate change protest laws. At least 2 think tanks that have received funding from fossil fuel companies made campaign donations to ministers overseeing this legislation. One, the right-wing Policy Exchange, drafted a report that essentially serves as a blueprint for one of the laws. Yeah, so they're doing it already. Sovereignty, my eye. How's Brexit going, by the way?
Brexit's going great.
Yeah, glad to hear that, Nige. Where are you these days? Glasgow. Hello, Rebecca.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thanks.
It is blowing a hoolie here, but there's no rain.
No rain. No, not for about a week.
Rain.
Can you believe it?
I know. I can't believe it. My cats are actually going out at night. They won't be going out tonight.
Why not?
But they're quite happy to stay out at night because it's warmer.
Yeah, why won't they be going out tonight?
Because of the wind. They're a bit feared of the wind. So
cats are covered in fur. Unless you've got one of those weird cats that doesn't have any fur.
No, mine are just old now.
Oh, right.
Yeah, they're old.
Do they ask to be let out? They stand at the door and go, and so you open the door and they look outside and they think, nah.
Yeah, but what they actually, after they do that, they then go to the back door and they look out the back door and then they go back to the front door.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've got to go up and down the stairs like a loony because
you have to adhere to their demands.
Yeah. Spoiled they are.
Well,
very spoiled.
What's the point of having a cat if you don't spoil it?
That's true. That's very true. They could spoil me.
Well, yeah, but they're probably just waiting for you to drop your guard and then they'll kill you.
Well, I actually think that sometimes they look at me as though they're going to chew my throat open while I'm sleeping.
Oh, wow, that just got dark.
I know. Speaking of dark, you were talking about the economic strategy of Trump.
Yeah.
And how his advisor, Peter Navarro, had invented this Ron Vara.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that Ron Vara is a countdown conundrum of Peter Navarro's surname?
You mean it's an anagram?
Yes.
Yeah, I have, yes. That's right.
You have? I didn't know that. I didn't realise. It was just when you were talking about it, I thought, he's made that up based on his own name. It's even less subtle than Trump. Little names that he used to write letters to the papers under.
Oh, that's right, yes. He used to answer phone calls to journalists and pretend to be his own secretary and say how great a boss he is and how handsome and smart.
He had a male secretary. I don't believe that.
I don't know, maybe he put on a voice, or perhaps it was just answering emails. I don't know, but anyway, that did happen, yeah.
Yes, gosh, unbelievable. So he's actually quoting himself.
Yeah, the man who is advising Donald Trump to tariff the world is quoting an expert who doesn't exist. Is this real life, or am I hallucinating?
I hope it's a hallucination.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
But,
a lot better than real life, isn't it?
We could go to sleep and then come round tomorrow morning and this would all be fixed.
That would be very amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Like Bobby Ewing turning around in the shower.
Well, mind you, that Glasgow is going to have an entire week without rain. That does suggest a certain element of hallucination.
It does. It does. I'm just thankful that the temperatures are a little bit cool right now and we're not seeing an awful lot of white and gradually turning pink or red flesh. So there is a silver lining to that it's still a little bit cooler. It reached the giddy heights of 13 today, so...
Oh, you're talking about people taking their shirts off and tanning themselves. Right, right, okay.
It doesn't take much up here.
No.
It just,
they'll whip their top off at a moment's notice. Oh.
But still just a wee bit in the case of that, but I'm so thankful.
Yeah. Okay, well, let me know if anything else happens. All right, Rebecca.
I will do, thanks.
Okay, cheers, minute. Ta-da. Yeah, that's Donald Trump's strategy.
There's no strategy. I have no strategy. There's zero strategy.
There is zero strategy. We're on our own, kids. This text says the average cost to build a standard 18-hole golf course ranges from $2 million to $7 million. Factors influencing the price include land acquisition, course design, and terrain challenges. This sounds like an AI answer to how much does it cost to build a golf course? It continues, yet the USA is paying $34 million each trip from Washington to Florida for Trump to play golf. Is that what Americans really want their taxpayer dollars to fund? Yes. They knew what they were voting for. Salford, Frederick.
Well, yes, me speaking, yeah. I just want to pull you up on the American car thing.
Yes.
The Corvette, what a car.
Terrible.
Still a great car.
Awful.
Oh, you don't know much about cars. I mean, Prince did a song about a red Corvette.
Yeah, don't make no never mind. It was a good song. It was a rubbish
It was a
car.
great song. Prince was great.
Yeah, he was okay. Yeah, he was good.
Oh, he's more than good. Come on.
Okay, he was very good.
Thank you.
But wasn't the Corvette made of polystyrene?
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was made of. You mean you mean?
I think they made it out of what they make boats with, like papier-mâché, something like that.
Yeah, like TVR sports cars used to be made out of. What's it called?
The smell of it. They used to have that. They used to make boats in woodwork class in school, and you go in there and
I never knew that, but I do love Corvettes. I love cars anyway.
You get a hit of that, and it's like yowza. Yeah, it fries your 12-year-old brain. No, Corvettes were rubbish cars. American cars did look good, and they were always better. Well, let's not get carried away. Some of them were.
Okay, what about Italian cars? Are you into like a Lamborghini? That would be for me. Well, if I was like in my 20s, I'd have a Lamborghini. I think.
You'd look silly in it, Frederick.
You reckon?
Everybody looks silly in a Lamborghini.
Not when you're 20.
If you were 20 years old in a Lamborghini, you'd wrap it around a lamppost in about 10 seconds.
Oh, not me. I'm a very careful driver.
Well, what do you want a Lamborghini for, then?
It just looks fantastic. And it's got a V12 engine in it.
Yeah, no doubt. And it goes vroom, vroom. Yeah, as they're driving at 5 miles an hour around Harrods. Yeah. Looking for a place to park. All right, thanks a lot, Frederick. Yeah, American cars used to look great. In the 60s and 70s, 50s, 60s and 70s, British cars were a pale imitation. We tried to have cars with fins and, like rocket lights on the back and stuff like that, but we never really went for it. But Americans really went for it. You know, if you're going to go for something silly, then you have to really go for it, I think. Pale imitations we had. Tiny, small, too, because, our tiny winding roads and... America was built around the car, pretty much. Very, very easy place to drive. But their cars were just really shockingly bad. Do you remember that TV show called Cannon? I always remember it, and I always wondered, why does that happen? He used to get out of a car with difficulty, being spherical. He used to get out of a car, and then the car, once he was out of the car and he was waddling away, the car would be just sort of wibbly-wobbling. It would go forward a bit and then stop and then just sort of wobble like a jelly. Try driving one of those at speed, I double dare you. 0345 6060 973. Now, I want to talk about the future in two ways. I want to talk about the future as children saw it in 1966, and I want to talk about the future as a person who has foreseen the future thinks about it now. Not great news. Spoiler alert.
Nick Abbot on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
What the hell is going on?
Nobody really knows, but some people have an idea. Marvin Brentwood says, Nick, surely Trump's play is obvious. He is dismantling democracy in America by first collapsing the economy. He is engineering a state whereby companies will be forced to come to him to pledge political loyalty in order to gain tariff relief. He will compel them to disavow their current political leanings and fall in line with his dictatorship. He's done it to universities. He's done it to law firms. This is all part of his plan. It's just sad that the Democrats are so incredibly weak and offer no opposition or resistance to what is amounting as a coup. Oh, I see. It's the Democrats' fault. And you read American newspapers and they don't seem as alarmed as they should be. They write articles saying, oh, well, Mr. Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, Mr. Trump, has perhaps done something that might not be technically legal. Hey, America, wake up. It's later than you think. Michael in Toronto says, tariffs crash shares worldwide. What happens next? Trump family and friends buy up shares and stocks at rock-bottom prices, and all of a sudden, Donald is persuaded that tariffs aren't working, reverses the process, stocks and shares recover, and Trump's coterie make millions of dollars. Yeah, both of those scenarios are entirely believable. Let's have Elstree. Hello, Joe.
Oh, hello, Nick.
Joe.
Hi there.
Yes,
I just had a very nice chat with your glamorous assistant. I just wanted to make the point that, a side point really, September 2022, the economy stock market crashed under Joe Biden and $7 trillion was lost from the stock market, but it never really gets mentioned. So just for a little bit of historical perspective, really.
2022?
September 2022, the stock market crash. But, but because it was Biden, he's a silly old man, so it was no big deal, was it? But the main point I wanted to make was that who would you trust to put into place economic policy? So wildly successful millionaire businessmen, economists who just work on computer modelling, or the mainstream media.
Who is the wildly successful businessman you were just mentioning?
Trump, Lutnick. I mean, these are multi-millionaire successful businessmen.
Do you think Donald Trump is a successful businessman?
Last time I checked, he's worth $10 billion, which is an awful lot worth more than you and I, Nick.
How did you check that?
How did I check it? You just go onto the Forbes wealthiest families list, and it's all there for you.
Right. Okay. Well, let's assume that's a reliable source. You know, he used to call that magazine up and say, I work with Donald Trump. He's really, really tremendous and great, and you aren't putting his real wealth. He's got double what you say. He used to do that all the time. So,
I know. Yeah, I've heard the stories. So if we go down your line of view that he's not successful, Nick,
yeah, he isn't,
and he's actually crying poverty.
No, he's not crying poverty. He's just not he's just not a successful businessman. That's undeniable.
That's undeniable. How do you define success? I mean, he has a string of hotels worldwide. His properties are lashed in gold, but he's not successful. Okay,
they're not his properties. If he's got Trump's name on the outside, it's not belonging to Trump. He leases out his name. It's not his building.
So
he went bankrupt 3 times running a casino. You wouldn't think that would be economically possible.
So I would say somebody who's gone bankrupt so often, they still have the ability to come back again and again and rebrand themselves and become wildly successful. I'd say that shows an incredible amount of grit and determination.
I think that this shows an incredible amount of gullibility, Joe. I mean, you're trying to bend the facts to suit your argument. Donald Trump is not a successful businessman. I mean, how much evidence do you need? Every business he's ever started has failed. Name one that hasn't. The only thing that Donald Trump has ever been successful at is conning people, is persuading people that he has been a success. That is his unique success. Persuading people that he is a success. He played a successful businessman on television. It's fake. And that you don't get that, I can't help you. I really can't. I'd just be wasting my breath. Here's his latest success. Shares in Donald Trump's social media company fell after the president opened the door to selling his entire it's $2.3 billion, but only because he says it is. Until he actually sells it, and then we'll find out what it's really worth. His entire $2.3 billion stake is in his social media company. He's opened the door to selling his entire stake in his social media company, just as global investors were persuading themselves for his Liberation Day tariffs. Shares in Trump Media and Technology Group, which operates Truth Social, fell 8% on one day, Wednesday, after the company said that it planned to sell more than 142 million shares. Now, the filings showed that Trump's 114 million shares are included in that 142 million shares that they want to sell, and the sale will take place, quotes, from time to time in one or more offerings. The stake is worth about $2.3 billion. It's held in a trust controlled by his son, Donald Trump Jr. Which one is that? Is that Uday or Kusei? Or is that is that Lurch?
We don't know what's happening.
No. Or what the name is. Existing shareholders, including the president, U.S. Attorney Pam Bondi, with an I, the chairman of the company, Devin Nunes, and a Cayman Islands registered company called Yorkville, will seek a total of 134 million shares. The shares in Donald Trump's company have plunged 40% this year. 40. Hey, Trump stockholders, are you tired of winning yet? In September, the shares surged after Trump said he didn't plan to sell any of his own shares in that company, and now it appears that he will. Who could have seen that coming? And how is it worth $2.3 billion? Because dinglings buy it. The stock's become a popular way for individual investors to show their support for the president, despite the company reporting a net loss in 3 months of $19.2 million. This is the nature of his success. The nature of his success is he keeps failing upwards. It's amazing. It's like he's done a deal with the devil. The only success he's ever had is to persuade people that he's a success. And there's just so many mugs out there who are keen to buy into the brand. In October, the company said it had 650,000 shareholders with, in their words, a unique profile. Yeah, it is. Because it's overwhelmingly comprising retail investors, known as mugs, marks, his ding-a-ling fan base. Those people. Hey, you know what, Trump fans? I suggest you go all in. Sell everything you have and invest in the wonder that is Donny. I double dare you. I mean, he knows you love him, so he wouldn't rip you off, would he? Of the 650,000 shareholders, only 2,100 own more than 5,000 shares, and fewer than 1,000 own more than 10,000 shares. So they're people who don't have any money, and they bought a MAGA hat, and what else can they buy? They buy one of his his non-fungible tokens, like a cartoon of him as a superhero. Like superhero outfits come in his size. Come on. They're his cultists who probably sold off one or more of their stupid children just so that they could buy a piece of the dear leader. They're your people, Donny.
I love the poorly educated.
They keep giving and giving. A successful businessman. This says, Tony in Derry says, "Hi Nick, I wonder how loud the dinglings will whoop and cheer when they hear that they have to pay an extra 34% for their China-made MAGA tat." Yeah, I think I've read that one. Getting déjà vu, as the French say. This text, Trump's administration is such a clown show that when you said his economic advisor bought a source to work, I thought you meant something for Trump's failed steak business. Yeah, he couldn't sell steaks. He couldn't sell water. He couldn't make an airline work. He couldn't sell vodka. He got sued because his university was a scam. What else? Went bankrupt 3 times, or 6, I think 5 or 6 times in all. Just a dismal failure. Failing and failing and failing. His dad gave him something like $400 million and he blew it. So being the president is really his, literally his get-out-of-jail-free card. And they gave him that as well. The Supreme Court gave him a get-out-of-jail-free card. You can do anything you like, Donny, and you will never go to jail. We will never prosecute you for anything at all. You can shoot me, they said, and I'll still continue to love you. It's a cult. And weirdly, some people over here seem to have joined that cult willingly, ran towards it, as though there was gold at the end of that rainbow. There's something that's that colour, but it ain't gold. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you are on WhatsApp, it's the same number as the phone, 0345 6060 973. Shane in Tadcaster says, any chance we can add a non-refundable 10% surcharge to Trump's state visit? Yeah, he's coming here to see the king. And the king said, oh, no. How can I get out of it? You can't, mate. It's part of the job.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global. Leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
This is absolute tosh.
And I like him. He's a good man. He is not a racist. I can tell you that. He's a good person.
Thanks, Donny. You're the best. And text on a much lighter note, I've just been to see Abbot by candlelight at Liverpool Cathedral. Rock and roll! The acoustics were awesome, she says. Groovy. And tomorrow night is a T-Rex tribute. Metal Guru, is it you? What does that mean? Metal Guru, is it you? Paul in Slough says, when Skier visited the White House, I wish someone had asked him if his experience with dealing with criminals as DPP had helped him in negotiations with the president. His experience with licking road clean wit tongue would help him in negotiations with the president, because that is what's required. Close your eyes and stick out your tongue. The Prime Minister is hopeful that a trip to Scotland this summer to meet the King will be enough to secure a trade deal with the US after the President revealed his latest tariffs. Is that all we got? I mean, he's offered that already. And Cheeto Mussolini was so uninterested, he didn't even read the letter. He handed it back to Skier and told him to read it. I mean, if he's not interested in the King, who else have we got? Andy, maybe. Maybe you'd like to meet Andy. We could wheel Andy out. I'm sure they'd have a lot to talk about. You know, they used to know the same people.
I don't believe I've ever met him. I'm pretty sure I didn't meet him, and I just don't know anything about him.
Yeah, okay. The White House has been presented with two windows for when Donald Trump could visit the UK, either in June or August and early September. I bet Donald Trump says, no, the King's going to have to rearrange his diary for me. Power play. Betcha. According to provisional details that were reported in the Telegraph, King Charles would then host the president at Balmoral Castle and have a round of golf at Trump's Turnberry Resort.
Warning, warning.
Well, you better lose that round, King Chaz. Donny likes to win when he's cheating at golf. The US president was invited to make an unprecedented second state visit to Britain this year when Skier presented Trump with a letter from His Majesty the King in the Oval Office in February. Trump said of King Charles, he's a beautiful man, he's a wonderful man, and we appreciate it. We? Already he's doing the we. We appreciate it, said Donald Trump. I've known him, I've gotten to know him very well, actually. First term and now second term, Trump said of King Charles. You know, I'm going to assume that that's as much of a lie as anything else he's ever said. Trump got to know King Charles very well, actually. Really? Do they talk often? They ring each other up for a chat? How well do you know him?
I don't believe I've ever met him. I'm pretty sure I didn't meet him, and I just don't know anything about him.
Just doesn't know anything about him. And because of the almighty Trump, Nearly £175 billion has been wiped off the UK stock market in just 1 week, hammering the pensions and savings of millions of innocent people. And he's just throwing haymakers around. It doesn't matter who he connects with, just as long as everyone's frightened of him. That's the strategy, ain't it, Donny?
There's no strategy. I have no strategy. There's zero strategy.
Skier is hopeful that a trip to Scotland this summer to meet King Charles will be enough to secure a trade deal with the US after the president released his latest tariffs. And I hate to break the news to you, that ain't going to do it. Not unless there's a bag of $100 million on the last tee with Donny's name on it. This isn't a political discussion, it's a mafia shakedown.
Absolutely.
Whitehall officials are crossing their fingers that the royal itinerary, that's a hard one, the royal itinerary makes way for constructive talks. This is what we're reduced to. Hoping that the school bully won't pick on us if we tell him how handsome and smart he is. Skier is expected to spend the weekend speaking to foreign leaders about the tariffs. Sir Keir Starmer is expected to say... A spokesman for the PM said the Prime Minister has been very clear. Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Not that phrase again. Skier has been clear. A spokesperson said that the PM has been very clear that the UK's response will be guided by the national interest and officials will calmly continue with their preparatory work rather than rush to retaliate. And by preparatory work, they mean puckering up and vapour locking onto Fat Donny's backside.
Disgusting.
Can you imagine that, Melania?
Yeah.
Yes, you can, actually. Ministers have so far avoided criticism of Trump as they seek to secure a trade agreement with America, which they hope could secure some exemption from the tariffs. But yeah, this is just what Putin does. He attacks and then throws a fit when the country he attacks strikes back. Trump went all caps on China when they calmly said, OK, chubby, we'll tax you. And I think that in a trade war with China, America is going to lose. China makes all of your stuff, America. What of yours will China actually miss? China has 600 million people more than America. China has an expanding middle class. America's middle class is getting progressively poorer and older and sicker. And the Chinese have a higher IQ. They're smarter and faster, and they're on the way up. While America looks like a busted flush under this management, my money is on China. I think we should get cosy with China and turn our backs on America. What an incredible thing to say out loud. Is this real life or am I hallucinating? And Downing Street's strategy is to use Trump's supposed love of the royal family and his passion for Scotland land as a way to stay close. And they're pinning their hopes on him being impressed by this request to glad hand the king, being the first time an elected leader in recent history is invited twice for a state visit. His first being when he met the Queen during his first presidential term, when he performed a total eclipse of the Queen and turned up for dinner in the world's funniest tuxedo.
Oh, shut up!
You look preposterous, Donny. Absolutely comical. But that's pretty pathetic, though, isn't it? I mean, that's our defence. The Queen's not here anymore. The glamour and the mystique has left the building. What's on offer is a second chance to meet an old geezer that chunters on about vegetables. If maybe Chaz gave Trump one of his Spangler hats, that might seal it. 0345 6060 973. Sandbach. Hello, John.
Hi. You got me going about that lot. I've noticed there's thousands and thousands of people demonstrating in cities all over America.
Yeah.
Against Trump. And I think that'll only grow and grow and grow.
It will, yeah, because people are going to get poorer and poorer, and it'll be harder and harder not to admit that all those people who voted for him have been had.
Yeah, and they'll suddenly realise, wake up maybe when it's a bit too late, that they've made a big mistake.
Huge. It is too late. He's not leaving.
Yeah, and the other thing is that, what was it, about Scotland, Turnberry, Trump's Turnberry.
Yeah.
Elvis Presley's family was Scottish. Johnny Cash's family was Scottish. And, descendants. And,
Blimey, Scotland invented everything. They invented the TV and the light bulb and the radio and the Morse code and pretty much everything else you can think of, and country music and rock and roll.
Rock and roll!
They're a clever bunch. You can imagine if Elvis Presley bought a golf course in Scotland, he'd be very popular. Johnny Cash bought a golf course in Scotland, very popular.
Yeah.
Donald Trump buys a golf course in Scotland.
Not popular, no.
Hated.
Yeah, with good reason, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think he's Scotland's favourite son. But he's not going to play any records anyway.
Well, he's not going to break any records, no. He'll break records for cheating. Yeah, he always wins when he cheats, which he does pretty much every time he goes on the course. I mean, have you ever seen Donald Trump actually swing at a ball? And he claims that he wins all of these tournaments that just happen to be held at his own golf courses. It's a great pleasure and a great honor to receive this award from myself. Actually, that is like royalty, isn't it? Because the royal families seem to spend all day long trying to dream up other awards to give to themselves. Oh, here's another badge. Wear this. Look fabulous. Like a haberdashery department just threw up on them with all tassels and pulls and epaulets and the whole thing. Medals from here to here. All right, thanks a lot, John. Let's see, where are we? Jenny in Carmarthen says, it's my birthday today. 77 years young, never missed your show or a podcast. Birthday jingle, please, says Jenny. Well, you get 2, including the long one. I think you should get that one for 77 years old. If it was 57, then it would be the short one. You made it, Jenny. Still with us. And Don says, you made me look up Mickey Rourke. Not fair. And not a good look. No, he seems to have changed into an alien. Why would anybody do that to themselves? I mean, Mickey Rourke used to be a great, well, maybe he still is a great actor. I don't know. Maybe that didn't leave him, but but the way he looks would really reduce the number of parts that he would be available for. It just looks so... I've never seen anybody look like that in my life. People do seem to... Maybe it's like tattoos, where you get a bit of plastic surgery and you just can't stop. Who has ever had just one tattoo? No one. You get one, and then you are compelled to cover yourselves in them. And then you start looking like one of David Beckham's kids. As though they've loaded various tattoos into a blunderbuss and stood in the way of the blast. I only ever saw somebody once whose tattoos actually made sense to me. And he looked as though it was quite scary looking, and it was in Brighton, you know, where hippies hang out. People who seem to have dropped out of the rat race. And he sat down outside in the pub I was at, and so I was trying not to make it look as though I was looking, but I just couldn't stop, because he was wearing a vest and shorts, and all of his tattoos, he was completely covered in them, but they all made sense as one artwork, I suppose, is exactly what it was. From his fingertips right up to his neckline and then down to his feet, it was all one thing. And it looked amazing. And I wanted to tell him and ask if I could take a picture, but I was too frightened, so I didn't. But really, I mean, think about what you look like, people. Think about what it's going to look like in the future, and think about what other random tattoos are going to look like together on you. Because it's not like pictures on a wall. You can't tire of it and then take one down and put up something else. Think before you ink. Actually, they should put that on a poster. Think before you ink.
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbot. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Right, so what are we doing?
Given we are doing a radio show, but it does remind me that I do a podcast with Carol McGiffin.
Yeah.
Now, the idea is that we solve problems. We're very good at it, occasionally. If you have a problem or a conundrum, something that is causing you grief in life, if there's something you've just always wondered about and thought, why is that? Well, leave it with the unprofessionals. Simply send it to the following address, nickandcarol@global.com. NICKANDCAROL @global.com, and prepare to be totally satisfied.
Oh, right, yeah.
Ask for it by name on an internet near you. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? There's over 300 episodes up there now. It could be 350 for all I know. And we do have a lot of fun doing it. If you want to just check out of all of this abysmal news, then it will be right up your alley. Because we don't talk about politics at all. In fact, by design, we have an emergency procedure if politics actually does come up, and we immediately start talking about something else. So if you want to, take a little mental holiday, then I think that you'll love it. Nick Abbot, it's What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol? That's what it's called. What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol?
Oh, right, yeah.
0345 6060 973. East Yorkshire. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Nick. Yeah. You were talking about Trump being a businessman. Well, no chance. He can't run a BAP. But there's an equivalent over here, which is Bodger. He couldn't run a BAP, couldn't manage anything, can't manage his hair, can't manage his clothes, and yet money accrues to him.
Yeah.
So he can be wealthy. Trump can be wealthy without being a good businessman.
Yeah, but it helps to be born to rich parents. Donald Trump's dad famously gave him, and Donald Trump said, I think it was a small $1 million loan. It wasn't. It was $425 million. And if he just put it in an interest-bearing account, it would have made more money in all of the years up until he became the president, and then he managed to monetize that position. He would have made more money than a lifetime of miserable wheeling and dealing, leaving a trail of destruction and pain behind him.
Yeah, and there's a stupid thing about this, is the casinos that went bust. His dad tried to help him out by placing losing bets in the casinos. Now, how ridiculous is that? Wow. Because he didn't want to lose faith. He could have stepped in and reflirted the business.
Yeah.
But that would have been an embarrassment. So they actually put money in as though people had lost money. And it still went bust.
And he still lost. Unbelievable. I mean, I've never heard of that before. How can you lose money running a casino? I mean, people literally come in through the doors and throw their money at you. How can you lose in that business?
It's complete insanity. But the reason I really rang up initially was, have you heard about this chap Garcia from America who got arrested by ICE and deported to El Salvador?
Oh.
And then they actually agreed that he'd been arrested because of a clerical error.
Yes.
And then they said, we can't get him back because he's not in our jurisdiction.
Right.
Well, explain to me, if they can pay El Salvador to take these people, how come they can't pay El Salvador to send one back?
It's just, they just don't care. It seems to be a government run by sociopaths, psychopaths, I don't know, it's like a combination of the two. Where one stops and the other starts, who knows? But they just don't care about anything. And that is not the kind of person you want running a country. It's not the kind of person you want running a cafe, let alone a country.
And the other thing that puzzles me, Nick, as well, is why isn't all of America up in arms? Because if it can happen to him, it can happen to you. And I know a load of people wanted Trump to be mean to people, just not them.
Yeah, they wanted him to be mean to other people, yeah.
But they just actually deported this guy. And why are the Americans not going ballistic? The UK population would have had him back in UK if we'd done something as egregious as that.
Well, the thing is that he's creating a climate of fear in America by design. And that will quell protests. I mean, people have been protesting today, I understand that, and no doubt that the next time that they have a protest, there'll be more and more people. And at that point, Trump will, it may happen this year, he will order his troops to fire into crowds, because that will be the ultimate application of fear. That's how autocrats stay in power. They create an element of fear in the mind of their detractors that prevents them from speaking up.
Yeah, I mean, you're right on that one. And not a little bit, don't really notice, but Musk threw $20 million to try and get a certain judge elected
in Wisconsin. Yeah.
Yeah, $70 million
lost
spent overall.
I know, I'm so pleased about that. Yeah.
I mean, how much money, if you gross that up with all the states, you're looking at billions over just electing judges.
Yeah, but he could spend billions. He could buy every judge in the land, and it wouldn't affect his lifestyle at all. That's the thing about Elon Musk. I just don't get the mindset of somebody who has enough money to solve homelessness and poverty, at least in the country that he has come to call his own. He could do it easily, and it wouldn't affect his lifestyle at all. He wouldn't even notice the money has gone. But he doesn't do any of that. He does... what he appears to be doing is trying to get more money. It's an illness.
I mean, if you want to leave a legacy, as you say, I mean, Carnegie did this. He was horrendous in his early life. Workers, he absolutely crucified them and didn't worry about health and safety. He made a fortune. When he got older, he thought, we'd better have a load of almshouses and I'll create some libraries and we'll have a university wing in my name. And now most people think Carnegie was a wonderful bloke. Well, he might have been in the last 5 years of his life, but he was a horror show before.
Yeah, no doubt.
This lot could do the same. They could buy their way in with institutes and everything else.
Yeah. They could build hospitals for the poor, and they could call it the Elon Musk Memorial Hospital in really big letters on the outside. They could put a simulation of a rocket on top to make him really happy. But he's not remotely interested in any of that. He just wants more money.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah, it really is. All right, thanks a lot, Mike. Keep your eyes peeled. Thanks. Ta-da. Andrew in Penzance says, what kind of idiot would commit hundreds of millions to building a factory in the US with the capricious tangerine nightmare at the helm? Well, exactly. Idiots don't generally run huge corporations. And what they're mostly interested in is money, making more of it. That's their job. And so why would you kowtow to a man who changes his mind like the direction of the wind? I mean, he's launched all these tariffs. I betcha, before the end of the month, he's rescinded most of them. He's kept some on, some dirt poor country who can't fight back. But most of them he will have rescinded and say, well, this was my plan all along. And that country, they crawled across the carpet and they kissed my shoes and they gave me everything that I wanted. Now I have rescinded the tariffs. And he won't have got anything at all. It's like Canada. He put the tariffs on Canada in the first place, and then he took them off, and he said, Canada gave me what I wanted. Canada didn't give me anything at all. They just reiterated what they had already agreed as far as their business with America is concerned. They just said... and he just took the easy win. It's... and they were trying to... push the king on him. I mean, it's just so pathetically desperate, isn't it? I thought that leaving the European Union was supposed to bring us sovereignty. Where's the sovereignty? Point to it. Doing what some crazy orange man in the White House says is not sovereignty. We've swapped a league of friends and colleagues for the whim of a lunatic. Not sovereignty. How's Brexit going, by the way?
Brexit's going great.
Yeah, glad to hear it, Nige. For who? For whom? West Midlands. Hello, Ranjit.
Hi, Nick. You're all right, mate?
Yes, good, thanks.
Yeah, you know, I was trying to talk to you last night, flashed into the news about the power of the unions and the workers, yeah?
I'm a union man. Forget the words to the song.
Yeah, I know. You know when you say there's more of us, yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
The first lesson in having a revolution, right, is we've got to stick together, right? When one worker points a finger at the other worker and blames that person, I'm going to talk the way I talk him. I'm not going to say him or her, yeah? Okay? That's where we're going wrong. Now, the rest of the world has united a little bit, and they have started saying no to Donald Trump. That's why all these protesters are all over America and around the world starting to protest. And I think that he's going to have his poll tax moment like Margaret Thatcher did. Yeah? And we should be more wise to him. You know, when he says, oh, well, yeah, you did send your king up here to, kiss my ring and this, that and the other. Say, no, he didn't. You're begging for it, mate. You're begging for it. Yeah? Now, Canada as the only person...
I'm not sure that, diplomatically speaking, that is the best policy, to start shouting at him.
No, okay. Sometimes I wonder, when you go to these proper hearings, you got to address each other in a proper way, right? But now, if I was the king, yeah, and I'm not a royalist or an anti-royalist, they're just there. That's what as I see him, yeah? He must be telling the Prime Minister, listen, you so-and-so, tell him I don't want this. And he has to say, Your Majesty, we can't say that. If I was a fly in the wall, I'd like to hear the conversation.
Ranjit, in this conversation, you've been so many things. You've been the king and a fly on the wall, and the Prime Minister. Good grief, pick one.
No. Okay, I'll go back to the. You know that Bob Crow, yeah? He used to be a fantastic union leader, okay? And people used to say to him, "Why are you earning £140,000 a year?" He said, "Listen, are you getting what you want?" And he says, "Yes." He says, "Well, shut up then."
No worker asked him why he was earning that. Journalists from the Daily Mail were asking him that. Columnists in the Daily Mail who are earning £1 million a year were making a big fuss about him earning 140 grand a year. Of course he should be earning that kind of money. Well, I'll repeat that in case it came out a bit wrong, because I think I stumbled over the word should. Of course he should be earning that kind of money. Doing the excellent job that he did. Ranjit, got to go, but thanks for that.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Have an outside line, please.
0345 6060 973. This text says you are wrong to promote a continuation of the slave labour that global capitalism depends on. Trump is right to upset the apple cart. Well, I don't think I'm wrong at all. What's going to happen now is that all of those, it's not slave labour. Slave labour is one thing. Cheap labour is another. Global capitalism depends on cheap labour, and that is because the consumer demands cheap prices. So if you want to pay more for everything, then go ahead. But people don't. You can pay more for organic meat and vegetables and fruit. But people generally don't. I think the organic, the percentage of food that's sold in this country that's organic is around about 3-4%, something like that. So, and the reason is price. People could buy a better product, but they don't because it's too expensive. Because they want more. They want lots and lots and lots. They don't buy small amounts of good things. It's like clothes. Do people buy a good shirt that will last them for the rest of their lives? No. Because it's too expensive. What they want is 10 cheap shirts that will wear once and throw away. That's the nature of capitalism. It's just very, very wasteful. And it depends on giving the consumer what they want, which is cheap stuff. And that's been the case regardless of whether the labour is in China or Vietnam or is in Manchester and London. It just depends on where you get the cheapest element of the product that you're selling. And it's the same with, if you're buying a phone, then each of the elements in that phone will be made by people in factories, in countries that specialise in making that particular thing, be it battery or the glass part or the thing that goes bing or whatever it is. It's like there was a thing about where planes are made. Specialisation is what it is. And that leads to better products and cheaper products. That's global capitalism, that is. And if you don't want your stuff made in China and Vietnam and so on, then be prepared to pay way more for it. And nobody wants that. So you, anonymous texter, are a phony. Here's where a plane is made. And each of these things are made in these countries because they can deliver it at top quality at the best price. A 787 Dreamliner, that's your plane that you'll take to the holiday that you've just booked that you'll probably cancel before you go there to America. The wingtips are made in Korea. The leading edge of the wing is made in the US. The wing itself is made in Japan. The centre fuselage is made in Italy. The forward fuselage is made in Japan. The centre wing box is made in Japan. And the landing gear is made in France. The lithium-ion batteries are made in Japan. The engine is made in the UK. British engine powering that thing. But it's the only thing that we do make, so not too celebratory. The engine nacelles, whatever they are made in the US. The wing body is made in Canada. The cargo access doors are made in Sweden, and on and on and on it goes. It's because all of those people, they do an excellent product. They specialise in it for a good price, and that means that the company that buys the Boeing will be able to do so at a good price, which means that the companies that fly the thing will be able to sell you a ticket at a price you can afford. But if you don't like capitalism, then just be prepared to pay way, way, way more for everything. And I know that you don't want to do that because expensive things are available and nobody buys them. Camberley, hello, James.
Hi, Nick. How are you, sir?
Good, thanks.
I've got a name that I'd like you to add to your list for the Tangerine Scream.
Yes.
Do you remember back in the 90s there was a type of crisp called a cheeto?
Do you mean Cheeto Mussolini?
Well,
yes.
Yeah, I wasn't going down that route, but you know the Cheetos, they had like a cheetah on the cover wearing sunglasses and that.
No, I don't remember that.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll give you some homework. Look them up.
I most certainly will do nothing of the sort, but thanks for asking.
They were bright orange crisps.
Yes.
Called Cheetos.
Cheetos, yeah. And so your name is?
I also looked up the word bleating, which is something a baby calf, sheep or goat does.
Yes.
And so my name is the Bleating Cheeto.
The Bleating Cheeto. That's not bad. I'm going to add it to my list as I speak.
Because I just thought I'd add... The definition just says a weak, wavering cry of a calf.
Yeah. You don't have to sell it to me any further, James. It's on the list.
No, but I just wanted to add the words... It's a weak, wavering, whimpering, whining cry as well.
Right. Okay, got it. Yeah,
nice one.
All right, thanks a lot, mate. Ta-da.
Right,
he's done homework. How about that? A bleating whiner.
I am the most fabulous whiner. And I'm a whiner, and I keep whining and whining. I'm a whiner, and I keep whining and whining. I'm a whiner, and I keep whining and whining.
He's a whiner, and he keeps whining and whining. So far, I've got the Baby Tornado, Donito Mussolini, or Donito Trumpolini, Trumple Thinskin, the Screaming Mimi, the Tangerine Scream, Ancient Orange, Jaffa the Gut, Jesus Trump Superstar, Powder Puff President, the Peach Powder Puff President, Agolf Twitler, Hairbrained Haystack, Fibonacci, and now the Bleating Cheeto. All good suggestions. Appreciate it. On that subject, this says, "Hi Nick, I'm surprised you have not updated your information on Trump. He is not an orange Mimi anymore. Well, he never was. He was a screaming Mimi or Tango Mussolini. His new look is glamorous peroxide blonde. Please have a close look. His hair is not orange anymore. It wasn't his hair that was orange, it's his face." Your husband's face is an odd colour, Melania.
I don't care.
She's actually not that bothered. He can't get his face anywhere near her in that hat. 0345 6060 973. Bath. Hello, Laura.
Hi, Nick.
Laura.
Are we all good?
Well, I am.
That's great. I wanted to talk about, camouflage, like camouflage clothing and all that.
Mm-hmm.
They use in the military. Do you think they have to change the colours because, of sort of global destruction of nature, and because it's sort of like brown and green at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I feel like they should change the colours to fit in with what the planet looks like now, which is like more maybe grey and, I don't know, fire-coloured maybe. How were your thoughts on that?
Fire-coloured?
Well, there's not a lot of nature left, is there?
Well, if soldiers are going to be setting up camp in a fire...
I mean, it's going that way, no?
Well, I read somebody who has foretold the future today. Maybe you read it too. It's a man who is a danger to cutlery.
I don't know where you're going with this.
Right, well, you'll have to wait and find out. Isn't it exciting?
Yeah, well, please tell me. I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, OK. Well, you're going to have to. Because, unfortunately, waiting is involved. Thanks a lot, Laura. This says, Nick, did you see the report? The German government is thinking of removing 1,200 tons of gold bullion that it is stored at the Federal Reserve in New York. They state their gold might be at risk. Yeah, get it out of that building straight away. He says they should have kept quiet because the orange man baby loves gold. He'll probably claim it's American gold as it's on American soil. It's all mine. I saw it first. Simon in Windsor says, you're correct about British cars not being great in the 70s and 80s and onwards, but in the 1950s and the 60s, we did actually build very good cars over here. All the Rovers up until the SDI were magnificent. Well, the best car that my parents ever bought was the Rover TC 2000, which is the classic Rover, and that is a good-looking car. Every now and again, like maybe once a year, I'll see one on the roads, and I have to stop and take a look. Apart from that, though, not sure. He says, likewise with most Jags, up to the British Leyland ones, the number of MGs and Austins that are still on the road prove how good these cars were. Yeah, I parked in front of one today, as a matter of fact, to come here. The thing is, you drive behind one of those old cars, and the stink coming out of the tailpipe is just overwhelming. And all cars used to be like that. It is remarkable how new cars, they just don't smell that much. But an old one, God, it's just painful. Like sometimes, if I'm behind one, I have to actually stop and let other cars follow it, so to dissipate this cloud that's coming out the back of it, because otherwise it just gets sucked into your own car and you die. There's more. It says, likewise with the original Range Rovers and the Land Rover, is some of which are still going on 50 and 60 years later. It's just when they became British Leyland that it all went down the pan. Yeah, well, yeah. American cars used to look great. British cars didn't. They were dismal copies of them without the size and the heft and the weight and the chrome. They probably drove better than American cars, but they didn't look as good. And I'm sticking to that. Digging my heels in, I am. Tooting. Hello, Jan.
Hi, good evening, Nick.
Yes, Jan.
Hi. You know what? I've been thinking. It's so grim, the news, but I don't think Trump is invincible. I don't think he might end up. He's not invincible.
Well, explain this to me. How has a man who is 178 years old and has done no exercise and eats a diet of chicken fat morning, noon, and night? How has he survived?
Well, I don't know, but he's very narcissistic. He's in a fantasy world.
Yeah, of his own creation.
He's in a fantasy world,
yes.
But cult leaders their cult fans can be so disillusioned. For instance, just looking at this, he was inspired, I think, by what the Civil War, the American Civil War, when the South was anyway, they had embargoes on exports and things like that, and to safeguard themselves, but it didn't work, and I don't think it's going to work. Like, if everything goes into recession, and even now with this, the richest people, Zuckerberg and Musk and everyone, Bezos, they've all lost billions.
Yes.
But if there's going to be a recession, and the man in the street is going to be, is going to be suffering so much, and it's a gun culture. There could be this could be a reverse of the Civil War, like with the South and the North of America. It could be just between the parties, the Republicans, and that. I believe there will be a civil war in America. No, that's not really. They could, because it's a gun culture country. Trump is.
How? Let me ask you this: how is Vladimir Putin running Russia still, with all the privations that Russians have had to suffer, with all the difficulties, with all the deaths, with all the misery? How's he still doing it? Because he's a dictator. And he kills anybody or jails anybody that raises a finger of complaint. The same thing is going to happen in America. Donald Trump will, at some point, probably soon, order his troops to shoot into crowds of protesters. That is going to happen.
But then, but in a civil war situation, the Americans are armed with guns. It's a gun culture country.
Yeah, okay, but it doesn't really matter if you've got a gun in your house. If the army is on the way, then it doesn't really matter how many guns you've got nailed to your wall. You haven't got the skills to repel an army.
Don't you think, though, a civil war is when the two parties, the two armies fighting each other within the same country?
There are no two armies. What two armies?
The Democrats and the Republicans. Those,
if it does come to that, then it'll be a war that's over real quick, because the Republicans are the ones with all the guns. America may have a gun for every person in the country, but every person in the country does not own a gun. Only the dinglings, and they own a lot of them. Because they're obsessed. They're like tattoos. You can't only get one. Like people in California and New York, they don't walk around with guns. They don't they don't take army weapons into Starbucks when they're ordering a latte. Of course they don't. But people do down south. People do in Texas. Those places, Republican places, those are the people with the guns. So if it does come to a civil war, it's going to be over real quick. And as for the assertion that Donald Trump's actions might not work, well, it depends what you mean by work. They're going to work for him. He's going to get rich. Everybody around him may get rich too. And those who aren't around him and for him and telling him how handsome and super and smart he is, they're going to suffer. But what does he care? Not a jot. I've got to go. Thanks a lot, Jan.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Hello, number please. Trying to connect you. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Yes, here's a person that's been kept waiting called Benedict in East Grinstead. Hi, Benedict. He's been waiting so long, he's passed out. Benedict! Too late. Let's have Seattle. Joseph. Two in a row on the Nicky Abbott show. Oh, there you are.
No, sorry, Nick. I thought the line was good, but anyway. I live out in Seattle, originally from UK, and it's, I'm not the normal type of city person, but I grew up in North Carolina, and then lived back in London and in Manchester, and I've been out here for 6 years now, and just the kind of changes that are going on in the world, and I don't know, I'm gay, I'm a mechanic, and I have guns, and it's just, like, I'm a member of the wokerati, I guess, in one way, but I've kind of just, had to, I get most of my news, from you, and try to stay up to date as much as possible, but my gosh, it's just such a change. Like, I can't imagine living back in, Manchester city centre, and with so much constant news going on. It's just, I'm in Seattle here. I'm about 30 miles north in the mountains, and, I went skiing 2 weeks ago, and today it's 70 degrees, and I'm outside in the yard with the dogs, and I can't get that in the UK.
Well, you can't go skiing, but you could have dogs and a yard.
No, I know, but the quality of life just is so different between the two, I've always found. And
well, people in America earn more, and things are generally less expensive until you get sick.
That's true, and I'm on both sides because I'm now self-employed. So, having to arrange health insurance is one of the biggest worries about going self-employed. But it's just the pay gap, and yes, I make a lot more doing what I do now than I would in the UK. Probably 4 times as much.
Yeah.
But I go to the grocery store, and thankfully I got my own chickens and eggs, but
I was going to ask you about that. How are the price of eggs doing?
There are none.
You ain't got no eggs.
The Facebook Marketplace is about $10 a dozen at the moment. So we're getting into that a bit. But,
so living in a shack up a mountain, you probably are a bit immune to everything that's going on at the moment, right?
That's it. That is the political disconnect. Like, people just don't want anything to do with it, and to an extent, it's possible. I'm on the edge of, a huge city, and then 3,000 miles of nothing. But it's
3,000 miles of nothing. In what direction is there 3,000 miles of nothing?
East, towards the other coast.
East from Seattle is 3,000 miles of nothing. Everyone in Chicago has got their finger up, wants to register a complaint.
Yeah, they're about 1,500 miles, I guess, Chicago. Right. But it's just the difference in between, and also growing up in North Carolina. What a culture shock that is at 8 years old when you get thrown into a public elementary school in a dry county. It's shocking. But came to Seattle, be with someone, and all that goes. But it's just, I don't see my life, and still I know this. What Trump, and I didn't vote for Trump, but it's just too much. And
what do you mean it's too much? What is too much?
Listening, or.
You mean people's reaction to what is happening is too much, or the thing that is happening is too much?
Oh, no. The thing and things that are happening are too much.
Okay, but I thought we'd established that you feel immune to it, insulated from it.
Well, I do, and this is thankfully why I'm so sort of privileged, I guess, in a way that I'm able to. But I just don't understand how it's such a the difference between the North and the South is pretty significant.
Always has
been. Outside cities, and there are so many people. You drive up some of these roads and mountains, not just here, but all over the country, and there are just houses, and all these people are don't have modern liberal Western values, and like a lot of other countries, how we in the UK perceive liberal Western values as being open and accepting, over half this country isn't. And I know the UK tends to be a bit more further left in most of their opinions.
Progressive is the word, yeah.
Progressive, exactly,
right.
Exactly, and that's it. And it's, do you want to fight to keep progressing, or are you happy? I mean, can you be happy with what you've got, even though, it's scary as hell? I've got trans friends. I mean, it's pretty wild, the stuff that's going on out here. And
yeah, well, I would, I would buy a burner phone, destroy the one that you're talking to me on, because I'm probably on some sort of list. So you must be now too. And I'd move address about once a week from now on. All right. And I wish you the best of luck. Thanks a lot, Joseph. 0345 6060 973. This text says, Nick, you know a lot about cats for somebody who claims not to have a cat. Quite perplexing, really. Well, not really. I grew up with cats. I had loads of cats when I was growing up. I just, I can barely take care of myself now. So, houseplants are about as much responsibility as I want. I don't want a pet now. But growing up, loads of cats. Oh. And Alfie in Portobello says, somebody I met in Wetherspoons last January said he predicts that Trump won't last 6 months. He had right-wing opinions, but I just nodded and smiled because he was buying me drinks. That's a good plan, Alfie. Just nod and smile. Yeah, don't engage. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Oh, hello.
Yeah! Dude! This text says, a guy on my estate had a pink Cadillac with a white roof. It was too long for his drive, so overhung the pathway. And he never drove it anywhere because he said it cost £50 in fuel for the short for the short drive to the shops. It was ridiculous. Looked great as a garden ornament, though. Well, funny you should say that, because I picked up something on eBay from somebody who was living next door to a guy who had a pink Cadillac with a white roof that was too long for his driveway, so overhung the pathway. I took pictures of it. I stood outside for quite a while. What a fantastic-looking thing. It was the one that had the big fin on the back with the two, like rocket engine lights either side of the fin. Oh, that is just a fabulous... I mean, Bruce Springsteen wrote a song about it, so, yeah. Christine in Putney says, weren't Corvettes built with fiberglass? That's the thing I was looking for, yeah, fiberglass. Oh, the smell of it. Yeah, the school woodworking class just absolutely honked of it. And Robin in the New Forest says, I may have discovered the secret of Trump's skin colour. After decades of living on buckets of fast food, he is supersaturated in food additives, and these are now leaching out of his skin like a poisonous toad. I think you should look into this very strongly and with great strength. A worldwide recession caused by one painted clown off the telly. Tell me I'm hallucinating. Camden, hello, Max.
Oh, gosh, Nick, I know. Well, thanks so much for taking the call. Just a quick call, because I know sometimes when I go on, you go, yes, your point.
That doesn't sound like me.
No, never. But anyway... So,
but what's your point?
Okay, I'm telling you. As far as Donald Trump's concerned, I always found it difficult to kind of work out where he was coming from. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Like, well, in the sense that when you kind of meet people who are various, I don't know if you do or not, but I do. If I meet people, I kind of find a commonality, and I sort of think, okay, well, that's where you've done that, and you're doing this, and that's your personality, and that's what you're trying to protect, and all that kind of stuff. And, I mean, it's just a natural intuition, I suppose everyone has.
Yes, but that was a bit of a weird aside. What are you trying to protect? Wow, that sounds like you're about to launch an attack.
No, it doesn't, because some people are defensive about certain topics. And you think, why has that happened? Perhaps you've had a really bad experience. You know what I mean?
Are you describing meeting people in a therapy environment or just in the pub?
No, not at all. I've never had therapy in my life. I don't want it, because you can take on board other people's problems. No, what I'm doing is my observation. I'm telling my observation, which is purely right or wrong.
And so your first instinct is to look for people's weaknesses. Interesting.
No, you've got it.
Please tell me about your mother.
You've got it upside down, and I can't. I'm not going to bring my mother into this or my father.
All right.
Can we carry on?
Yes.
All I was going to say was.
Oh, I'm sorry. Our time is up.
Oh.
No, go on.
All right. No, but all I was going to say was Donald Trump. I actually kind of realised where he's at now emotionally. He hasn't, I know you said this so many times with your jokes about him being a child and everything else, but when you realise it in a real, like, oh God, I can understand that way, you see it differently, and you realise that hopefully, well, I will be concise from now on, I promise, Nick, don't worry.
Yeah.
But
father issues. He misses. He missed his father giving him love. He was always a failure, and his father was disappointed in him.
No,
and he wants to impress somebody who isn't here anymore.
No, I don't think you see it as parents. You see it as the person. And therefore, forget the parents completely and say what he's for, whatever reasons. Everything else is so complicated. You can't begin to say parents, nurture, all this or that, the other. But for him as a person, what he hasn't done, which I did later in life, say 25, 20, 30, naturally as a human growing person, was to realise about social conscience. And I didn't know that before because I was so concerned, as so many young men are, with their own ambition and everything else.
What does that mean?
They don't.
Well, if only he said what he just said at the beginning of that conversation, then we could have all saved 5 minutes. But unfortunately, he used builder's language.
Disgusting.
Can you believe that? He just blurted it out. Forgot where he was. Never mind. Now we'll never know. This text says, it's from Louise in Horton-le-Spring. Blimey, that sounds fancy. Did you see the story about Trump slapping tariffs on his own Bibles, says Louise in Horton-le-Spring. They are printed in China. This is a text from the past, as I am learning to crochet and have to keep pausing you to read my crochet book. This show might take me all night to get through, says Louise. Well, funny you should say that, Louise, but we do put the Friday and Saturday night shows up the internet as a podcast. Oh, yeah. It's they remain there, and they're exclusive to Global Player. So if you want to bail on this show because you're getting tired or you've got something else to do, you've got a lot of important crocheting to do, for instance, then you can look up the Friday and Saturday night shows as podcasts on Global Player. Now, if you haven't got Global Player, it's free. Get it from your App Store or globalplayer.com and ask it for Nick Abbott, The Whole Show Podcast. Specifically that, Nick Abbott, The Whole Show Podcast. And the idea is that we take the news and most of the ads out, mostly, which means that it takes less time to listen to, which will give you more time to contemplate the ruination of this once great planet. Thanks a lot, Donny. Let's have Guildford. Darren.
Hello. Hello, Nick.
Darren.
He uttered an oath. Where was your finger on the delay?
I hit the delay. I don't think maybe you heard the delay because you were on the phone.
Oh, perhaps I did, but regardless, it was nice to hear you were visiting RHS Wisley recently.
Yes.
It's nice this time of year, no?
It's not nice. It's incredible this time of year. It's exploding with blossom and blooms.
It's a brief respite from the real world,
yeah.
But it does leave a bad taste in your mouth, leaving due to the roadworks that surround it.
Getting there is a piece of cake. They built this new road that goes, it swoops and it soars and it goes in
the left-hand lane.
It goes in areas you didn't even know existed. It's absolutely brilliant. It delivers you right there instantly. Getting out, on the other hand, is a total nightmare.
It's terrible. It's terrible. I'm local to Wisley, been in Guildford,
right?
And I'm quite a regular. I'm quite a regular visitor, so I'm sorry I missed you. I know you're quite a private man, but
that's just you, Darren.
Do you ever get recognised?
No.
Do you ever get recognised in public?
No.
Do you know you've got quite a distinctive voice?
Yeah, but I don't go around shouting at people.
No, and I guess you don't have your sound bites out in public, do you?
Yeah,
so
and also my voice
really...
in real life is not going through millions of pounds worth of equipment. I don't sound like this. It's the microphone, that thing, and this desk in front of me. I've got no idea what it does, but I'm sure it costs a lot of money.
And you up the bass on your voice as well?
No, I have no control. I have no control over that.
Yeah, you do.
No, I don't. I have no control over bass.
Yeah. You're so basic. Listen, I've not been very well this week. I've been quite sick, actually,
really?
So
stop whining.
You know what you want? You want a good walk in the fresh air, Darren. I recommend Wisley.
I've been sick.
Right.
I've been sick, mate.
Okay. But you're coming round, though.
Really.
Yeah, okay. You're coming round, though. A little bit too much information there, Darren. And I wish you all the best. Visit a physician at your earliest opportunity. That's my recommendation to you. Yeah, I hope that they fix the roads around Wisley, because at this time of year, you do want to go a lot, because the blossom there is amazing, and then the rhododendrons are all about to come out, and it's just incredible. And you can get in a piece of cake, no problem at all, but getting out again, oh my God, you join a line of traffic and sit still for an hour. It is excruciating. Hurry up. If this was China, they'd have built that road 3 years ago in about 2 weeks. But because it's Britain, it's just going on and on and on, and the roadworks are just interminable. But they'll get there eventually. I suppose. Fingers crossed. This text says, every business Trump presumably, he's involved himself in has gone bust. His wealth is almost entirely inherited from his father prior to him levering himself into a position where he can clean the money off via his presidency. Some of that made sense. Yeah, I agree with the bits that I understood. Yeah, exactly. He's monetizing his position. And he's doing that very well. Yeah. I mean, people say, is it working? Are his economic plans, as much as you could say that there is a plan, is it working? Well, it's working for him, and that's all he cares about. 0345 606. You know what? I haven't done the future thing. I'll do it in a minute. Alarming. You won't like it. East Grinstead. Hello, Benedict.
Hello, are you here? You hear me?
No.
You can't hear me?
No.
Why can't you hear me?
I don't know.
Well, you should be able to hear me. If you can hear me, just say yes.
No.
Well, say yes. Go on.
Yes.
Yeah, you can hear me, right.
Yes.
Okay, right. We need to sort out Mr. Trump, don't we?
In what way?
In a way that he is ruling the world and we need to sort him out.
But there are more of us than there is of him. Yes.
No, but yes, we know.
If we all act together as a team, then we could do something about it.
Yes, but I think we can. We need to get together and all get together and say the guy is a lunatic.
Well, we don't have to get together to do that. We could just say it. But what are we going to do about it?
Well, I think... Well, I'm going to tell you now what I think he's doing. So, let me tell you now. So, what he's doing now is... So, he's trying to ruin the whole stock market and the whole financial world by doing all these stupid taxes, which are ridiculous. And they are ridiculous.
Yes.
I mean, it's just abuse, isn't it?
It's preposterous. Yes, he can't possibly be serious in his assertion of what the end game is for these tariffs. It's not what he's saying it is.
No, and whatever he says it is, it's ridiculous. So, he's putting all these ridiculous taxes on, and it's going to crush us all. But we're all sitting and we're all looking at each other, going, "Oh, what are we going to do about it? What's going to happen?"
It's going to affect every single one of us. I mean, people are going to lose their jobs. Businesses will go bust. Hundreds of thousands of people will be, if not millions of people, will be condemned to misery, probably death. People have died already because he's pulled medicine from third world countries because he'd rather spend the money on tax cuts for billionaires because that's what Jesus wants. Everything that's happening right now is completely insane. But we can, as consumers, make an informed choice about the products that we buy.
No, absolutely, of course we can. But if we start doing that, we can't. If you don't start, I'm not going to buy that Coca-Cola can. I'm not going to McDonald's. But all of a sudden, they're going to have to sack all these people off, aren't they? Because they can't pay them. Because we're going to make you redundant now. So he's doing that as well. So
right.
So if you're employed by an American company, and we don't buy into it, then they're going to buy them off, aren't they? All the people that they're going to be. Yeah. So that's wrong as well, isn't it?
Well, that scenario that you just laid out for us, yes, we want to avoid that.
Yeah.
So what do you propose, or are you just asking me the question?
Well, no, I rang in, Nick. Come on.
Yeah, you rang in, but to ask me what I think.
No, but what do we do about it?
Right, so you are asking me what I think.
No.
You are. That's just what you just did it.
But what I'm saying, Nick, is how the hell those guys, do we want to lay them off? If they're working for McDonald's, they're American employers, aren't they?
Well, that I think they are franchises, so they would be British companies. So we have to be more aware of our actions than that. If we are going to make conscious choices as consumers, then we have to make sure that we make the right decisions and impact this country as little as possible. So, yeah, that's my idea. Be more Canadian. Do that. Got to go, Benedict, but thanks for that.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
What we got here is a failure to communicate.
Arthur in Arkansas says, Nick, if failing at everything you've done until you're able to hoodwink the dumbest people in America is success, then I'm afraid that fellow is correct. That was in response to a call I had some while ago from a British cult member. This says, Nick, when the markets crashed briefly under Biden, that was because of post-pandemic global issues. This crash has no prevailing issues causing it other than the whims of one man. Is completely correct in every respect. Yeah, the markets did crash under Biden for two reasons. One, we were getting out of COVID and boats and shipping containers were in the wrong place and trains were in the wrong place and everything was out because of COVID. And so you come back and everybody wants their stuff right now. And so the price of everything went up and the consequence of that was that the markets crashed. And, remember, Russia invaded Ukraine. It happened both at the same time. So that's the reason why the markets crashed briefly under Biden before surging ahead. And under Biden, America then had the world's most enviable economy. What's happening now, this is just some orange-painted clown off the TV who's just who's just throwing his weight around for his own personal benefit. And to hell with everybody else. Tracy says, Trump University was a big success for the people who won a lawsuit against him. Yeah, that's right. And this says, can we stop talking about Trump's steaks or at least offer a vegan option? Wow, that's the most woke thing I've ever read. And it's probably illegal. Belsize Park. Hello, Judy.
Hello. I think this will only really resonate with people who know the show The Producers. Do you know that, or the film?
Well, I know one of the versions better than the other. I maintain that the second film they made was funnier than the first one.
You mean the straight film, the first one? Then there was the musical.
Yeah, the musical. The musical, right. The Producers, was made by Mel Brooks.
And it starred Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick.
That's the second one, yes. I think that's the funnier version. The first one was Zero Mostel.
Yeah, but that wasn't a musical.
Yeah, it was.
No, it wasn't.
They had musical numbers in it.
Yeah, only as they came. It was, anyway, that's not what I phoned. This might cheer people up, and I've done homework for you.
Yes, thank you.
Your glamorous assistant was very impressed that I've done homework for you. If you go online onto Google and you look up on YouTube Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick in a performance called Trumped, and it runs at about 5 minutes. You can't actually do it doing your break now, because I should have rung earlier than when you had your 12 o'clock or 11 o'clock break. You could have watched it.
Yeah.
But now you can't.
No.
But anyway, sorry, I'm gabbling. Anyway, I just
fits right in on this show.
I think it will cheer everybody up to watch it. It is a work of absolute genius.
And it's called Trumped.
Trumped. Trumped.
Right.
But if you don't know the show The Producers,
then
it won't really work.
Right. Well, I tell you what, everybody should go and watch The Producers, because that is one of the funniest things I've ever seen, and it is absolutely hilarious. And it's just wonderful from start to finish. It's just brilliant. It's one of the best... it's one of the best comedies I've ever seen, and it's one of the best musicals I've ever seen as well, because the musical numbers are terrific.
But did you not see the show when Nathan Lane came over and did it at Drury Lane?
No.
Oh.
When was that?
Several years ago now.
Right.
He was brilliant in it.
It's very, very funny.
Yes. But he was live on stage, and a live show is much better than a film.
I doubt it.
Well, that film...
But there was
the
a film.
live show was wonderful.
It was a film of the show, though. The Producers.
Yeah, I know, but it was... The show was just brilliant at Drury Lane.
Did he do that thing where he corpses, but he's only pretending to corpse because it cracks the audience up?
He does that quite a lot.
Yeah.
Some people might not know what you mean by corpsing.
Well, he
just
gets a fit of the giggles on stage, an unscripted fit of the giggles, which when it's organic and it happens naturally is hilarious. Which is why often a comedy film's outtakes, which they'll show over the end of the credits, they'll show the outtake. That can often be the funniest part, because you're laughing with people.
Well, he did.
He does it. He fakes it, which is always a bit wrong.
It, but if you can fake it genuinely,
no, you can't.
As they say,
you can't. No one's ever said that except you, Judy.
Nathan Lane can.
If you can fake it genuinely.
Yes.
No one has ever said that.
Well, I've just said it. You know what I mean.
I have no idea what you mean.
Well, I've forgotten. There is a funny expression, something to do with faking it to look natural. Anyway, he does. Nathan Lane, in my eyes, can do nothing wrong. He is brilliant.
If you can fake sincerity.
That's it. If you can fake sincerity.
You've got it made.
Yes. Yes.
Well,
but anyway, watch it.
I haven't. Oh, Trump. Yes, I will.
Next week.
I certainly will do nothing of the sort, Judy. But thanks for the invitation.
But you will.
Well, okay, maybe I will.
You will.
Maybe I will.
It'll be a first. You'll have done homework for the first time ever.
Now you're being insulting.
No, I'm really proud. I will be the first person that's made you do homework.
Don't patronise me.
But you know you will watch it as soon as you get home tonight. It runs at about 5.5 minutes.
I'm not going to watch it tonight.
You will. You know you will.
I'm not going to watch it tonight. I'm going to go straight to sleep. I don't want to watch anything First of all, you don't watch anything on a screen just before bedtime because the screen is blue and it's telling your brain to wake up. So that's the worst thing you can do just before you go to sleep is look at a screen of anything.
Do you not listen to Clive?
No, I go straight to sleep. Are you kidding? It's 1 o'clock in the morning when I get off this show.
I know, but we all listen to Clive.
Judy, this station's on 24 hours a day. I would never get to sleep. I'd be dead in a week.
But it's your duty. They employ you.
When do you sleep?
I go to bed very, very late. Because
How late?
About 2 o'clock.
Right, so you don't actually listen to all of Clive?
Then I take Clive in my bedroom with me.
What, while he's doing a show?
Yes. I mean, on the radio.
I think we're going to have to look into this very strongly, Judy, because there's obviously something untoward going on here. And
I have been listening to LBC since October the 8th, 1973.
What happened on October the 8th?
It opened.
Oh.
LBC.
I should know that, shouldn't I?
David Jessel, 6 o'clock in the morning. You didn't know that?
And you've been listening 24 hours a day ever since?
I've been listening ever since.
Right. Well, you must have learned a lot, Judy.
Yes, I've enjoyed it right through from then, from 73.
So, what is the most important thing you have learned? Other than perhaps you should go to bed earlier than 2.
Yeah, that's what I've learned. I should actually get off my bottom and stop just sitting around listening to the radio. No, I carry the radio around with me.
Yeah. Have a nap every now and again, Judy. You're worth it. All right.
Okay, between 10 and 1 on a Friday, Saturday and Sunday night, yes?
Yeah, you and me both.
Right, bye-bye.
All right, thanks a lot. Cheers, my dear. This text says, most of the money he has made that he is currently holding is from cryptocurrency trash coin that he launched a few weeks ago and the other scams of cheap Chinese goods that he's been selling off while he's been president. Oh, he's made a ton of money while he's been president. I mean, he rents out rooms in his own hotels to his Secret Service people and charges them the going rate. He did that during COVID. They weren't having any guests at all, and the people that were protecting him, he charged them to sleep in his hotel where he was going to be. And like almost half of Americans thought, yep, that's the guy for me. We want more of him. This text says, could you please inform the Trump crayon muncher, while there were periods of market decline during Biden's presidency, the overall trajectory showed substantial growth. We're months into the Fanta fascist's second reign, and he's already on his way to crashing the global economy. Yeah, he was a cult fan of Donald Trump, and he was one of those whatabouts. Oh, what about this and what about that? It must be a bit sad being a Trumpist in this country, because who are you going to talk to? I mean, there's precious few Trumpists about. We're just not that kind of people. So you just must go through life trying to, wonder if I'll meet one today. I'll wear my special hat.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Hot H-O-T-A-I-R.
This text says, one, to add to the Trump list, he'll create create a national holiday to celebrate his Trumpness, either his birthday or Liberation Day starting next year. Yeah, I've added to my list, but I've lost my list. So from memory, here's my predictions. This is my Trump bingo card. He won't leave. This will not be his last go-around as president. He's not going to be leaving at the end of this term. He will, I'll add that to the list now, he'll create a national holiday in his honour. He will order his troops to shoot into crowds of protesters. There will be a nationally televised execution. He will rail against degenerate art. That's the important word to remember, degenerate. He'll insist that state buildings are built in classical style. And he'll close down at least one news channel. They've been very unfair. Add to them as you wish. Leytonstone, Russell.
Here we go.
Yes, Russell.
Good evening. Can I bring some sort of locality to this conversation?
Locality?
And arbitration from you guys, please.
That made no sense. Go ahead.
Arbitration, that means talking help. And my wife and I, we're having our kitchen done.
Yes.
And spent £1,000, tiny kitchen, and I'm not happy with the work, and it's halfway through. She thinks it's brilliant. And
what is it that you are not happy with?
The tiles are not matching, and they're not straight. Do I get them repaired, or do I pay the full bill and just go, oh, it's not a perfect job?
Oh, no. Laying tiles is a relatively easy thing for a person that lays tiles. There's no way that the tiles should be wonky and not straight. They don't match.
Right, okay.
Can you just explain? Because here is the cancel that.
Okay, I can't hear her. She has to either take over control of the instrument or you have to relate what she's saying to me.
Sorry for that. Here is the cancel that, and I just asked for the person who really very, 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 the good person.
Right, I have no idea what you're saying. Can you put your husband back
you
on?
You have no idea? Yes, I have no idea what you want to listen about that.
Right.
But I just want to tell you, because I just, pay money for a really good person who, who can do the old tiles and everything.
Right.
Okay? Yes. Because I live in a council flat. Okay, and they did absolutely...
Right, okay, well, I'm not really understanding what you're saying. Can you put your husband back on?
Okay,
yeah, sounds like, give me the phone.
Yeah, give him the phone.
Yeah, sorry about that.
All right.
Right,
I think, okay, you're asking my opinion. I think that tiles should be straight regardless of how much you've spent on them. It's a relatively easy thing to stick tiles to a wall, for crying out loud, and if somebody has done it badly, then don't pay them.
Okay, do you think £1,000 for a kitchen is a small kitchen?
It's not £1,000. It's very full.
Blimey.
£450.
I think I've been inserted into a domestic. Do I think £1,000 is a lot of money to spend on a kitchen? No, Russell. What did you get for £1,000?
Well, but he's done half the kitchen. Right, I've got somewhere quiet now. He's done half the kitchen. He's done most of it really, really well.
Yeah.
There's only about, probably, I'd say, 6%, maybe 8% of the kitchen that's not perfect.
Okay. Well, get him to fix that. Listen to me. Get him to fix that before you pay him in full. Have you paid him in full yet?
No.
Right. Well, there you go.
Yeah, but
it's called a snag list, Russell. There will always be things that aren't quite right, so you make a snag list and you withhold I'm going to say 5%, maybe 10, because it's not that much money, 10% of the final bill until they fix all the snags. Got it?
Oh, no, not quite right. I've paid him only £300 so far.
All right, okay, well, so keep back 5 to 10%, as an insurance on fixing the snag list.
Okay.
All right, another satisfied customer. He got a new kitchen for £1,000. Blimey. What do you get for £1,000 these days? Apart from wonky tiles. I wish you all the best there, Russell. Keep it down. There's people trying to sleep here. Margot in Northant says, "Hi, Nick. Regarding the caller suggesting that Biden..." Oh, God, here we go again. This is underlining that Biden did not really cause the crash. It was just that, he happened to be the president at the time and COVID was affecting the economy, and then Russia invaded Ukraine. And then shortly after that, the American economy skyrocketed and Donald Trump took over a purring Rolls-Royce of an economy and has now turned it into a Trabant. Stephen Dorset says, "Where's Musk gone? He's been nowhere to be seen this week. Perhaps he's in China trying to work out how to pay 34% tariffs for Tesla imports." It's nuts, says Steve. Well, he's got that right, yeah. Are you still there, Russell?
Yes,
they're still shouting at each other. Just say yes or no, depending.
Yes.
All right, there you go. You're welcome. Am I helping yet?
No.
Bootle. Sarah.
Hello.
Yes, Sarah.
Well, we're talking about the tyrannical tangerine toddler.
Yes.
And what we can do about him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a few suggestions I'd like to do, but we can't do those.
No.
But bear in mind, we are on the radio. We've got to keep it clean. What we could do is quite simple. We have to follow China's lead. Now, our erstwhile Prime Minister, who at the moment in time is getting a massive tetanus shot for sitting on that fence for so long, we're going to have to follow China. It's the only thing we can do. Everybody, us, the EU, Falkland Islands, Bangladesh, everywhere else, we've all got to get together and go, right, you come and have a go if you think you're hard enough.
Exactly. If we all pulled together as a team, then we can achieve anything. We can disappear him.
Oh, we can. And there's something else that we can do. That, seeing as he's ever so proud of getting his nice little baubles, we can cancel the state visit.
Oh, please. Who cares? I mean, he doesn't care about that. The Queen's not here anymore. The glamour has left the building. He's just left with the king. He just can't be... he won't be remotely interested in that.
Well, let's just put it this way. He thinks he's the only one who's had 2 state visits. Well, if memory serves me correct, so did Ronnie Reagan, but he didn't go around behaving like him. What we have to do, apart from everyone act together, which is the best way, the other thing is our Prime Minister has got to remember one thing. A trade deal with Trump means Britain gets the shaft.
Well, a trade deal with Trump doesn't mean anything because he signed a trade deal with Mexico and Canada when he was a president the first time around and said of that deal, this is the greatest deal that anybody has ever seen. And then, subsequently, when he became president second time around, he looked at that deal, said, this is the worst deal that anybody has ever seen. Who would be stupid enough to sign this deal, he said, of himself, tore it up and started throwing tariffs around. So it's pointless to sign a deal with him because he does not respect the conditions of any deal. He doesn't think that it applies to him.
Of course he doesn't, which is typical of somebody who's a narcissistic megalomaniac.
Yes.
And what we have to do is, instead of our Prime Minister and our so-called Chancellor who doesn't know how to add up 1 and 1, instead of going, oh yes, well we've got to be nice to him. No, we've just got to go, we're not even bothering with you. You may be an ally, but you are no friend.
He's not an ally.
Having anything to do with you.
Yeah, not an ally, and we should treat him as such. Yes.
Yeah.
If he looks like an enemy and he talks like an enemy and he squawks like an enemy, he's an enemy. All right, thanks a lot, Sarah. She's very, very angry, with good reason. This text says, and don't forget the man-baby's consistent refusal to submit his tax returns. I wonder why that is. And how proud he is of not paying any income tax. Yeah, he boasted about that. Nobody knows more about income tax than me. I don't pay any. I'm very, very smart. And the drooling yeehaws in his audience whooped and cheered like that was a good thing. Yeah, fewer rich people paying taxes. That means that we have to. Oh, wait. Mark in Sheffield says, did you hear about Trump's reshaping of the Smithsonian museums? Trump signed an executive order to direct J.D. Vance to remove improper ideology. Really? I wonder if this is the new degenerate art, says Mark in Sheffield. Improper ideology. Americans who think that this is just a blip, wake up. I read American newspapers and they don't seem to have grasped how serious this is. They're writing it up like, oh, well, that's just Donald Trump. You know, oh, he's just done something wacky. Or he might have perhaps broken the law. Let's look into it. Stop looking into it and do something, crying out loud. And, you know, some people are. Some people out there protesting. Some people are refusing to buy Teslas, for instance. Some people are, what are they doing? What are they doing? Well, the resistance is taking a bit of time to come together. But by small increments, great journeys start with just one step. So, get stepping.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Come on, we're running late.
0345 6060 973. This text says, did you hear about... No, done that. Matthew in Newmarket says, you said who else have we got in regards of Trump's state visit? How about Prince Andrew? Yeah, I said that already. They got a lot to talk about. They have, they have close personal friends of old that they claim never to have met.
I don't believe I've ever met him. I'm pretty sure I didn't meet him, and I just don't know anything about him.
Just doesn't know anything about him. Hawley, hello, Mark.
Hello, Nick. Thanks for having me on. I've got a theory as to what Donald Trump is doing.
Mm-hmm.
He and his friends and his family, they're not short of a bob or two. They've got plenty of money. So he announces the tariffs, knowing full well that the stock market will collapse.
Yeah.
It collapses. They go in. They buy loads of cheap shares.
Mm-hmm.
He lets the tariffs go. The stock market goes up. He sells the shares. They've made millions.
Yeah. Buy the dip, they say.
Yeah. And I haven't heard anybody on media suggesting this theory. It just seems blindingly obvious to me.
I've read it frequently, actually.
Oh.
But yeah, I'm sure that is one thing that they will, that either he or people around him will do. I mean, it does seem a pretty obvious move. If you've got a lot of money, then you can make a lot of money. I mean, and people who are rich love a recession because everything becomes cheap. Land becomes cheap because people, farmers go out of business. Companies become cheap because they can't sell their stuff anymore. Yeah, so there's going to be it's going to be like a fire sale. So if you've got a lot of money, you're going to be making a lot of money.
And that's why he's done it.
Well, maybe that will be one of the benefits, I'm sure, for those in and around the White House and just people who have money anyway, yeah. But whether that is the reason why he's done it, well, I don't know. There's probably a lot of reasons. One of which is that he got told to do it by someone who doesn't exist. For full details, you'd have to listen back to the show on the catch-up. But yeah, he's taking economic advice from somebody who doesn't exist. It is that bad. All right, thanks a lot, Mark. 0345 6060 973. This text says, I think that Trump is part of some Harvard experiment on the combination of game theory, power and economics, and I bet he's participating just to make a Netflix series after this worst experiment ever. And this says, if you call Elvis the inventor of rock and roll again, I'm going to send the ghost of Chuck Berry to your house.
Rock and roll!
Yeah, well, Chuck Berry didn't come from Scotland, and that was the conversation that we were having, so I just threw that in. But, yeah, of course Chuck Berry. Of course Chuck Berry. Or Big Mama Willie Mae Thornton. How about that? Her version of Hound Dog, better than Elvis's. No question. Mike texts, Nick, when Trump was last president, he ordered us to rip out Huawei, the world's best 5G, claiming a national security alert despite Huawei being here for 25 years. And no smoking gun. I never voted for Trump, so how come he has domain over the UK? It's because we have sovereignty here now. We don't have to make rules with our friends. We can take rules from an enemy. That's the nature of Brexit. That is actually the nature of Brexit. We don't have to make rules with our friends anymore. We take rules from an enemy, from a man who has made himself our enemy. And that's not too strong a word to use. He just cost us billions of pounds. That's real money. That's the value of people's pensions and the value of their homes and the profitability of their businesses and all of that. For no reason. We didn't do anything. In fact, it's the opposite of what he is claiming is the reason that he's putting these tariffs on, that there is a trade surplus or a trade deficit with other countries. That Americans buy more from those countries than those countries buy from America. But in this country, it's the other way around. We buy more from America than they buy from us. So actually, we should have got a total pass. He's just thrown around the pain and the suffering because he can. We don't even meet the criteria for tariffs. But he's doing it anyway. An enemy. That's who he is to this country. And we've got to start treating him as such. And crawling across the carpet and begging him for a trade deal. Who are we kidding? He doesn't adhere to the rules and regulations and the stipulations of any deal. He doesn't think it applies to him. I hope that the government actually understands this and realises this and that they're actually planning for the eventuality when we have to essentially turn our backs and run in the opposite direction and can't trust him at all with anything. But they're just being nice in public because that's diplomatic. I hope that that is the case, but you just can't tell. This says, people have been moaning for years about business people outsourcing production to maximise profits by exploiting cheap labour, and now somebody's doing something about it. The left suddenly loves cheap labour exploitation and thinks it's a travesty to try to get rid of it. No, cheap labour is one thing. Exploitation is another. If the average wage in your country is £10,000 a year, then if a manufacturer comes in from America and starts paying people £50,000 a year, then that would totally distort the market. So they're not exploiting cheap labour, they're using cheap labour. And the people in those countries, places like Vietnam, for instance, they benefit from that. Do you think they'll be able to make that kind of money with a cow and a small holding? Of course not. That's why they left the rural environment to go to the cities to make the money. So it helps them, lifts all boats. I mean, some boats are bigger. Some boats are made of solid gold. Some boats have 2 poop decks. You believe that?
Disgusting.
2 of them. But it's exploiting. It's a bit, I don't know. I mean, everybody's exploited as at work, aren't they? Elon Musk probably feels exploited at work because the board refused to sign off on his £56 billion payday. So, you know, some people's exploiting is other people's offering opportunities. And none of it would work unless consumers insisted on cheap. It's if there is fault to be addressed, it's ours. It's our fault, the consumer. Derby, hello, Simon.
Evening, Nick. 2 or 3 things. I'll be quick with them, though. Firstly, I was interested to hear about the gold. The Germans wanting their gold back. And I'm looking forward to what Donny promised us a few weeks ago about sending the cameras into Fort Knox for his conspiracy theory friends, to prove the gold's still there.
Now, did he say he was going to take cameras in, or he was just going to go visit it?
I thought he said he was sending the cameras in, but... Yeah.
I'm not sure about that, because my immediate thought was somebody better check his pockets on the way out.
Yes, definitely, yeah. The other thing I've got, one of the levers that people could use to get back at Donny, to try and control him, I don't know if this would work or not, but you know how the American national debt's $37 trillion or something, isn't it? Well, what about if some of those people start calling in their markers? Pay up.
Well, that would be China, Japan, us to a small extent. But yeah, if China and Japan started selling off the dollar, then they'll be in big trouble.
Well, they owe financial institutions and probably other countries that money.
Yeah.
So, time to pay up. Let's see how it gets on then.
Right, okay, good idea. Let's make it happen.
The last one.
Yes.
The last one, you had a message earlier on from Simon from Hampshire.
Okay.
And I was just glad he sent the message in tonight instead of just phoning up and snoring at you like last night. Oh, God,
was that him?
When I heard that.
Was that guy?
Yeah. That was so funny. That was such a snore.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah, he needs to see a medical professional about that straight away.
I think he does.
That does not sound good. No. All right, good work. Thanks a lot, Simon.
Okay.
Ta-da. 03... No, I don't know why I'm giving the number out. It's a bit too late for that. Let's see now. Messages to close with. Sorry, I didn't get to the prediction of imminent immolation is perhaps not quite the right word, but our imminent demise. There you go. From a seer of the future. Assuming that we all live long enough, I could do it next week because it will still be relevant. Similarly, I didn't do the story about the kids from 1966 predicting the future eerily accurately. And that will still be relevant next week, so I might do that as well. Things to look forward to. Isn't it exciting?
No.
Would you like to think about that?
No.
No. At 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 that?
No.
No.